Hey everyone, I'm Nico.
Hi, I'm Thomas.
We're here today to get your account started at Mailjet. I'm on the Mailjet website now. Let's create a new account. It's pretty easy. Just can click on Get Started. I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to go like this. So that's an email, password, and then I'm going to be requested to fill a few fields. So the first one is just basic information, name, first name, last name. And then we'll ask a few questions about what your organization is. It's important to fill this appropriately because it will help us really determine your business. We're like pretty strict about like fighting spammers. So we want to make sure we know who you are. I'm going to say I work in fashion here. I'm going to say I'm in the United States, and I'm going to send less than 50,000 emails. I'm based in New York, so I'm going to put this, and I will subscribe to the Mailjet newsletter. All right, so I'll complete sign up. Now I've received an email that I need to validate. I'm going to do that just now.
And this is one of the most important steps because we got to verify who you are.
That's it. And so you still see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, so now I'm being asked if I'm a marketer or a developer. The reason we ask this is to really help onboard you in the best way possible. So if you're a marketer, you're probably going to use the UI to manage your contact list, manage your campaigns, and send promotional emails such as newsletters. And so you can click on marketer for this, or if you're a developer, so you rather plan to use us through our API to send triggered emails from your application, for example, order receipts, then in that case, you can click on developer. Here, I'm going to click on marketer. And I'm going to be shown, a few steps here. So like how to send my first campaign, how to validate the domain, etc. Here, we're here together. So let's just do that together. So the first thing I want to show is more like a general configuration of the account. What I'm going to start with is in account settings, I'm going to look at senders. So in Mailjet, you can add a sender domain or a sender address. If I look at this, so I have domains here, addresses here. I already have an address that is validated. Of course, that's my own email. I just clicked on a link in the email I received. So we know that you own that email address. If I want to add another sender, I can do it. I will just have to like click on a link in the email I received just to show that I own the email address I want to use as a sender. It's as well very important for us because we want to make sure that you do own the email address you're going to send with. If I want to send to use a full domain, I can as well validate the whole domain. That will enable me to send from any address on that domain. So that would be if I'm going to validate the melgen.com domain, for example, I'm going to be able to send from any email address on the melgen.com domain. So that's the very first important part here in this demo. I'm going to just use my own email address. Something that we can look at as well is how to configure SPF and DKIM. So that's very important. I'm going to go through it. And Thomas, you want to talk a bit more about it?
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, especially with domain authentication and then kind of what Nico just talked about, we want to make sure you know who you are, because DKIM, it's a form of email authentication. Say that 5 times fast, by the way. By which recipients of your messages can verify that you are the true sender of your email, and that's the most important part because we don't want you to be a spammer. But you have to understand though, these protocols have been, they become the standard in the email world, most importantly. And, message sent without ZCOM and or SPF, can be considered suspicious by any of, email analysis tools that anyone can use. So, yeah.
Yep, and it's pretty easy to do. All you have to do is set a couple of DNS records on your website, either directly by setting those DNS in text, or we also have a few guides from like a major cloud platform hosting. So there's one or GoDaddy. Here I'm already set up, so I'm not going to do more than that. And then the next step, I want to show you about account settings before really digging into like contact list and campaigns, is the email tracking settings. By default, we enable tracking, so to track recipients who open your email so that you can get some statistics on your open rates. as well as clicks so that you can get some statistics on your click rates. You can also configure automatic Google Analytics tracking using UTM tags, which work with any tracking platform, just not Google Analytics. So here it's available here if you want to change that, but here I'm going to just leave it like this. All right, now let's look at our first contact list. I'm going to go to contact list. So here I already have a first contact list that is created so that you can already start sending your first campaign. There's only one contact in there, that's myself. But here let's create a new contact list. So, but contact list is very important to try to minimize the number of contact lists you want to have, because your recipients are going to subscribe to your emails through that list. And so if you multiply the number of lists, then that's as many subscriptions you're going to have to manage. So I would really recommend having a low number of contact lists, and then you can, of course, segment on this, which we're going to cover as well. So here, let's say that's my marketing list. So I'm going to call it that. And then I'm going to upload some contacts. So I can just insert manually or copy paste contacts if I have a few at hand. But I can, of course, upload a file if I exported that from my CRM, for example. That file can be CSV, text, or TF. And so I'm going to use this right now. I'm going to import a contact list. I already have a contact list here. You can see how it is. So it's one column that is an email. Then I have a first name, a last name, I have a city, I have the age of my recipients, and I have like a randomly generated promo code that I exported from another platform. I'm going to upload that file. Should be fast, yeah. And now I'm going to match contact properties. So we automatically match the email because we could detect, of course, that it was an email address. I already had a contact property, which is first name, so we also match that. But then I don't have any contact property called last name right now in my Mailjet account. So I'm just going to like create this one. So to do that, I can just click here, create new property. I'm going to call it last name, and I'm going to set it as a string, which is just a chain of characters. Let's do this. And then I'm going to go through with the other platforms, the other contact properties as well. So I'm going to create city here. And I have the age, which I might have. No, I don't have age. So I'm going to say that's an integer, a number. And then I have a promo code which I'm going to set as a string. All right, I'm all set. I've mapped all of my fields from my contact list file. I'm going to continue. First, you have to certify that you really obtain the consent of your recipients. Like I said at the beginning, we're very fighting spam seriously. And so we want to make sure that the recipients you're going to send to have that you have their consent to send them emails. And then I can check this box here to receive an email notification once the list is uploaded. Here I have 100 contacts. It's going to be super fast, so I'm not going to. But if you have, let's say, like 1 million contacts, it could be taking a few minutes. And so you might want to receive an email notification once the upload is completed. All right, so I've created my first contact list. Now I can create a new campaign from it. I can go back to all of my contact lists, or I can go to the contact list page. Going to do that real quick. So that's the contact list I just uploaded. Here I just see the email address, but I have the ability to also display, for example, other properties such as their first name, if I want to see the rest of the contact properties. Now, why are those contact properties very useful? First, because I will be able to use them in my emails, but also I will be able to create segments for those. So what I'm going to do right now is to just create a segment based on those contact properties on those new contacts I uploaded. So let's do it. I'm going to create a segment that will be, let's say, recipients living in SF or New York and over 20, let's say, something like this. So to do this, now that I have the city, for example, I can just use city here, and I can do is New York, or city is San Francisco. And so that's all conditions. So any of those values will be matched against. And I can also add and conditions. So those two blocks have to be verified, both verified for my segment to be true. And so now I'm going to look at age, and I'm going to make sure it's between 20, oh, I said over 30 actually. So let's say greater than 20. So let's do this. And now what I can do is just apply the segment on my list. So something very important to understand is that segments are dynamic. They are not just a static export of contacts matching those conditions. So if I apply the segment today on my list, I'm going to calculate. I should have a few contacts matching it. So yeah, I have 9% of my list matching it. That's only 9 contacts. If I grow my list over the months and then apply again that segment on the same list, which has grown in a few months, then the number will be different. I don't have to recreate segments again and again. I just have to apply them on the list when I send my campaign. I'm going to actually change my conditions so that I have more contacts. So I think I'm going to do something like this. That's a bit big, so I'm going to do between 20 and 35, should be better. All right, now I have 64% of my contact list matching that segment. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to rename this. And we're ready to create the segment.
Nice.
All right, here I actually only used conditions based on the contact properties, but I'm going to also show quickly that I would be able to also target my recipients based on other conditions, such as the engagement that they have based on my emails. Right now, I haven't sent any emails, so I'm not going to use that. But for example, you want to follow up with someone who clicked in a specific email or who did not open a specific email to make sure that they're going to like really see your message. It's definitely something you can use here, and you can like filter on specific time periods as well. All right, I'm not going to save this. And now, so let's go look at our first campaign. So let's create a campaign. Yeah.
People from the ages of 20 to 35 from New York City to San Francisco. That's a lot of people.
Oh yeah, if I had the full list. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm going to call this my first campaign. So this campaign name is only for me. Like no one is going to see that name ever. It's more for me to organize my campaigns, so I can put whatever I want in here. And then let's start looking at the different fields. So the first one is the subject. So I could say like a surprise waits for you. Waits for you. Surprise awaits for you. That could be my subject, but I can do more than that. And for example, if I want to call my recipient by their first name, it's something I can do. And so to do that, I can click on insert variable, and I can use any of my contact properties I've previously uploaded. So here I'm going to say, I'm going to use first name. If I don't have the first name of some of my recipients, it's something I can work around using those double quotes here. That's what we call a default value. So that's what the variable will default back if we don't have the value for it. So here I could say, for example, dear customer, if I wanted to print that if I don't have the name of my recipient. I'm going to set that here. Then I'm going to set the sender of this email. So who is sending? As a name, I can put whatever I want. So for example, here I'm going to set Nico from Mailjet. But then as a sender, like I was saying at the beginning, you have to verify the sender you want to use. Here I only have one, so I'm going to use this one. If I wanted to add one from here, I could do that as well. So I can either add a new domain, or if I have validated a full domain, I could add any address on that domain already. But let's keep it simple here. Let's do that. And I can also use a different reply to address if, for example, I don't want those replies to come to my address directly, but just to the full like marketing team. So I could do something like that. And now all the replies are going to be routed to that email. Let's also select a contact list as we just created one. So I'm going to select the contact list I just uploaded. I can say I have 100 contacts in there, but I can also apply a segment from here. I can also create a new one from here. I'm going to just use the one I have previously created. I'm going to calculate. Should be the same number as before, obviously. That's it, 64 contacts. I'm going to save. And now I have a subject, from name, from email, my contact list, and let's start into the fun of actually building the email, which is the design.
Now, this is the fun part, actually.
Yeah. So when I click on design email, we're going to open the gallery of templates. So right from the beginning, we offer a selection of templates that you can start from if you don't want to start from scratch. If you already have some designs in HTML or NGML, which is a very popular open source framework we created at Mailjet to simplify the creation of responsive emails, you can do that. Or if you have already created templates in your account, they would be listed here. As I've just created mine, of course, I don't have any here. So I'm just going to start from a template from the Mailjet gallery. Let's pick this one. I like this one, mountain and trees. And now I'm in our email builder, which we call Passport. And so let's start with first the layout. So we have sections here for 1 to 4 columns. And then for those options, I can actually customize the size of the different columns. So if, for example, I want like to have 2 small columns on the right side and 1 big left column, it's something I can do. Then I just have to drag and drop that section into my layout. Here I already have some sections created, so I won't do that. And then once I have my columns, I can drag and drop a few content blocks. So it ranges from a text block, button, including social media icons, images block, etc. But here, let's just work based on the one that we already have and just customize this customize it based on our design. So here I have a background image. So that background image enables me to have some text on top of it. You can see that here it takes the full width of the email, but maybe I don't want to have this. So let's actually not have a full width background. I prefer it looking like that. And then you're going to see that for each block, each section, we really have a lot of options possible to customize the size. So for example, that image, I actually also want to change it. So that's pretty simple. I can just click on that. I'm going to choose another image. And here I have a few images. So I'm going to use this one, for example. And that's it. So that's pretty simple, but let's say I also want to change that image, which is not a background image. This one is just an image. I can't just put text on top of it, just an image in my email. If I want to do that, I just have to double click. I can choose another image. And similarly, I'm going to put this one. Loading. All right. Now you can see it's a bit strange because actually on my other blogs, the images are perfect square, whereas here it's a rectangle. So that doesn't look so good, like with that white space below it. But that's not a problem. I can change that pretty easily. I can click on Edit Image. And now we have an image edition model, which enables us to do a lot of things, resize the image, crop it, even like rotate or mirror it. And here I actually want a square as my other images. So I can just click on square. I'm going to save the changes. And it's going to apply this in my email body. And now I have a perfect square. It looks much better than it was looking just before. Something else that I can do, so that's image. Now what about text? In terms of text, I have a lot of text options, like to put the text in bold, italic, change the font size, font style, but also the font family. And so there are a list of fonts that you can select from already from the beginning. But you can also add a web font. And here we're going to pull fonts from Google Fonts. And so if I select one, you can preview the font here. You can start some text here to see how it actually looks with your own text. Or you could also use any other web font if you have your own web fonts that are self-hosted. I'm going to do that here. Just a reminder, web fonts are not supported across all email clients. So for example, Apple Mail will display the font properly like this, but even Gmail doesn't support Google fonts, so they will fall back to a fallback font that is displayed in the pop-up I was showing just before. Now, what about buttons? Let's say I have this button, but actually I'm not such a fan of the rounded borders, and so I want to change that. There's the radius. The radius is what makes the button rounded, so I'm going to change that to 0, and now I can see I have a square button. I can also add some weight, which is basically going to be a border. Here it's white, so you can't see it, but if I set it to red like this, now you can see it. And then I have a few options, different options for the border. So that's pretty easy to customize as well. I can make the button full width. I have a lot of options to choose from here. To add a link on the button is pretty simple. I can just do something like this, and here I'm going to add a different link. And now I have a button applied, a link applied on those buttons. So this is for buttons. Now, what about different social blocks that we have? So for example, we have the social sharing options. I can drag and drop. I'm going to put it here. And then I can choose from an array of like a dozen social media available. So ranging from Facebook to Twitter, Snapchat, etc. And then for each social media that supports it, I can decide to share the online version of the newsletter on those social media when people click on it, or I can just have a link to my own Facebook page. So here I'm going to keep it like this. I'm going to save the changes. I'm going to close this, and I have a social media block in my email. Now, let's say I'm happy with this block. I'm actually going to use that block a lot because in all of my campaigns, I have similar blocks, except each time I'm going to change the content, the image, maybe the link on the button as well. I don't want to be recreating those from scratch over and over again. So something cool I can do is I can click here and create a saved section. I'm going to call it to block section with image. I can add the description to be used in the newsletter, for example, so that it's easy for me to understand what the section is. And I'm going to save this. Now, what this will enable me to do is to drag and drop that section in all of my emails from now on. So if I go back to sections here, I have the standard section, which are those 1 to 4 column sections. I can also click on save, and now there is that section I just created. I can drag and drop it, and then obviously I can change to a different country. From my accent, you probably heard that I'm from France, so I'm going to put France here. And then that's very easy to customize and work from instead of starting from scratch over and over again. So I saved sections. Just before we mentioned having some variables. So what if I wanted to actually not say hello first name in the subject of my email, but actually say that in the body of my email? It's also something I can do. It's pretty easy. I can just type hello, click on variables here, and I'm going to be able to select any type of contact property I've created here. So I have, of course, the age, city. I also have the promo code if I wanted to display the promo code in the campaigns I'm going to send as well. But here, let's just say hello first name, same as before. I can customize the default value. I'm going to say dear customer, and I can insert that. And now I don't have to type that syntax or not that syntax myself. We're just inserting it for you. Another way to use contact properties in the body of your email instead of like just in the text or in the segments as we saw before is also to do what we call conditional section. So let's say, for example, that section has a promotional offer that I want to offer only to some like premium customers. What I could do is, for example, add a condition and only show that section to like one segment. So I could create a new segment that would be like, for example, my premium users. I would say I want to show that section only to those users. I just have to click save, and now that section will be displayed to those users only. So that's very easy to customize yourself without doing any type of coding or templating yourself. I'm going to remove this here. So that's pretty much it about customizing the design. Like I said, there are a lot of different options to play with. So have fun with that. I'm not going to be able to cover all of them right now. But something I do want to cover as well is what we call A/B testing. So here I can see that I have version A. If I click on that, create a new version, I'm going to create a new version of my campaign. And so now I can edit that version. And for example, let's say I actually did like the rounded button. So I have to make up my mind. I'm going to change this as well. to use a border radius as well. I'm going to remove that border, don't like it that much. And so I'm back to that rounded button as before. So now that's my version B. That's my version A. So you can see that on the version A, the button is still the same as it was before. And now I have two different versions of the same campaign. Why is it interesting? Because then if I go back to review and send, I'm going to be able to test different things and see what works best in my emails. So I can see the two versions here. As you see, I have the square button here, the rounded button here, and I can actually test a lot of other things. So if I wanted to see, does it really work better if I call my recipients by their first name? It's something I could be able to test as well. So here I'm going to remove it from that version, and then I have a different version. I could also test a different email, like Nico from Mailjet. People don't really know me. Is that really useful? Let's try a different name, like Mailjet Marketing Team, and see if that works better in terms of open rates and click rates. So now the way I can test my different versions, I'm only 2 here, but I could add up to 10, is by working on my sample. So here, I'm going to test those two versions of 20% of my list. So that means that the first version is going to be sent to 10%. The other version is going to be sent to 10% as well. Here it's a bit different because we don't have enough recipients to have a rounded number. But basically, I'm going to send each version to 10% of the list each. And then I can decide how the winning version should be decided. And so for each of those versions, I could say the one version that has the highest open rate should be sent to the 80% left of my list. Or I could say that I don't want to use the open rate for this, but actually use the click-through rate or the lowest and sub rate or the lowest spam rate. Or I could also say manually. So that means that I'm going to just send two versions to those 20% of the list, look at the statistics myself, and then decide manually, say, okay, I actually want to send that version to the rest of the list. Let's keep it simple. I'm going to say automatically here, and then I'm ready to send. So once I send my email, all I have to do left is to actually look at my statistics. So I'm going to actually go back to a different account where I already have statistics from a different campaign. 1 second. Okay.
And just a heads up, guys. So we've got lots of questions coming in, so we will be answering those towards the end of the webinar. So just stay tuned.
Just looking for a different account. I'm going to share again. All right, so that's what you will see when you go back to look at the statistic of a campaign you have previously sent. So here it's a campaign I've sent to 160 emails. I can see that 96% were delivered. Why only 96% were delivered? Well, you can see here why, because 3.75% were blocked. An email is blocked means that basically, for example, it was outbounds before. Outbounds means we could not deliver the email for a permanent reason. A permanent reason can be that the email address doesn't exist. And a reason for that can be that, for example, you're sending to a professional email address, but that person left the company. So the email address doesn't exist anymore. The email is going to be outbounds. A softbound reason is usually temporary. So it could be that the email inbox is just full right now, but it can be emptied by the owner of the inbox, and then they can keep receiving emails after. But yeah, if they're outbounds or if they're spam, we are going to just pre-block the email to not hurt your deliverability. There's no point in keeping sending to outbouncing email addresses. So that's what could explain why you have some blocked here. Then I can see some general statistics, how many have opened my emails, how many, like among the recipients that have opened emails, how many have clicked. Depending on your industry, we usually say that an open rate around 20% is pretty good, and then a click rate around 3 to 4% is also pretty good. But again, it really depends on the industry as well. And then I can see how many have unsubscribed or how many have marked my email as spam. Then I can see what were the top links in my email. Here I only have one link, but if you have a list of links, you're going to really see those links ranked and how many total clicks were made and how many unique clicks. So total clicks can be higher if some recipients click on the link several times. That number is going to be higher. And then we have the email provider details. Here it's just a demo account, so I don't have any, but here you would have the detail, for example, Gmail, Outlook, etc., to see what are the most popular email providers among your contact list. Then that's just the overall information, but I can really dig into that. And so look at the non-delivery emails. So I can really see the blocked emails here. I can download that, and that could be useful to, for example, exclude those contacts from my list and make sure that I'm not going to like keep them in the list. We're going to pre-block them anyway, but that can help keep your list clean. And you could do that with the softbounds, outbounds, and retrying email as well. And you have some links as well to tell you more about statistics, but about statuses, sorry. But Sam, if you have questions on this, it's something we can cover together. Then the activity. So here I'm going to be able to see all the recipients that were successfully delivered emails. So that include people who have not opened the email, but as well people who have opened it or clicked into it, just anyone who received the email. And it's going to, I can see the recipients who have opened the email. That's going to also include the ones that have clicked in it, but not the ones that haven't opened it, the email. And then the list of recipients who have clicked in the email. Like I was saying, we can see the list of links. Here I only have one, but that would be ranked here if you have several. And I can see the click list. So really each customer, what link they clicked on, and after how many seconds or minutes did they click on that link after receiving the email, and what browser they're using. So here we see, for example, Safari. I can as well export that. You can really export any type of statistics or reports here. And we have here something pretty cool that we call the click map. So I can see what were the kind of like hotspots in my email, what was clicked most. So here I only have one link, so that's here. But if you have a list of links across your email, you can really see what your recipients really interacted with in the email. And then, as I said before, you can see the detail by email providers, but here it's not relevant as I only have one. That's about it for the statistics. You can really, like I was saying, export anything, so you can work on the statistics if you want to like keep optimizing your list. And that's it.
Thanks, Nico. And thanks everyone for watching. We hope you found this useful.